Beautiful Sydney Harbour, that magnificent skyline that we know so well. And out here in the harbour, a wonderful page of the boats. Now, I lived here for 5 years and I eagerly explored the length and the depth of Sydney Harbour, looking for old shipwrecks, looking for hidden things in the coves. So I want to take you and show you these little known wonders of Sydney Harbour. I'm going to show you something quite interesting and hidden away. Now, Dean and I did about 2 hours of bush bashing until we found the right trail. I'm on the scenic track between the Spit and Manly, and just down here is the hidden path. Now, that was the easy walk, and when you come to this junction, and the sign, you've got Manly this way, the Spit back there. Right in behind it is the hidden path. The path is very old and well worn. You can see the hollow there from people treading along here for over 60 years. That's Dobroyd Point, and down here is Crater Cove, and just a little bit further. This is what I want to show you in Crater Cove. Now, they're fishermen's huts, squatters' huts, 2 here and more further up. Some of these huts were built over 60 years ago with million-dollar views until the late 80s, when the National Parks and Wildlife won a court case and kicked all the residents out. They all have just a single room, but what a great place to come down for the weekend fishing. The builders were masters of innovation. They've used local stone here and driftwood to make quite a substantial dwelling. And for hot water, they painted a water pipe black up on the roof for the sun to heat it up. See how neat they were, ropes coiled up nicely. A paved pathway, driftwood that makes a nice settee or bed. Simon Flynn lived here for 18 years until he was evicted. His hut is simple, you know, bits of driftwood, corrugated iron, things salvaged from around the area, but a simple place with a wonderful view. How many millions would you pay today for a Sydney Harbour view like this? This Crater Cove settlement is a good example of a simple architecture by ordinary people. And for me, I reflect back to my early days when it wasn't so regulated, when you had the freedom to come in and do things like this, and you could live with nature and not harm it at all. Well, hello. You're the new owner, are you? The only one allowed to live here. Hey, you're friendly. I guess you miss your mates here. Sydney Harbour's never calm. There's so much swell here from the crisscrossing of all these boats. It's out. Old sailing ship anchors litter the harbour, and each has a story to tell. North Head has claimed many old shipwrecks. Pro Dive is taking me to the best scuba dive site in the harbour. It's at North Head, below the conspicuous rock called Old Man's Hat. I want to find the wreck that I found about 40 years ago, the Catherine Adamson. Fran Stater and I are searching for what little remains of the clipper, Catherine Adamson. She sunk here in 1857 and 21 died. They nicknamed her the Booze Barge, for she carried over 20,000 gallons of rum, gin, brandy and wine. Now, when the liquor washed ashore, there were a lot of drunken, happy locals. Ah, there's her anchor chain. I haven't been back here since I discovered her in 1964, and that made front-page headlines. Only her anchor chain seems to be visible now. Her remains are broken and buried by the passage of time and many storms. This is the egg case of a Port Jackson shark. The spiral flange is tough, and there's a baby shark inside. It's January, and an unseasonal cold current drops the water temperature to a shivering 14 degrees. Interesting creatures abound. A giant cuttlefish, a friendly blue groper, and the most exotic of all, the weedy sea dragon. This signal tells me an angel shark is up ahead. It's harmless, 1.5 meters long.
Thank you. Nice dive. I can't believe how pretty the corals and sponges are down there. Yeah, really colourful. Dirty though, and very cold.
People love the many secluded coves, but few realise they are also home to colonies of little penguins. These delightful penguins are so inconspicuous, it's hard to believe there are some 60 breeding pairs in Manly alone. The Manly Ferry Wharf is the easiest place to view them. People enjoy the sunset and wait for the penguin parents to come and feed their chicks when it's dark. So you look after the penguins, do you?
Yes, we've been doing this for more than 6 weeks now, every night, haven't we?
Yeah.
This is Ellie, she's a penguin warden too.
And how many penguins will come in, you think?
Well,
Two adults, the mother and the father, and then we've got 2 babies.
Oh,
and we
right.
reckon they're about 6 to 7 weeks old. And so they've got a couple more weeks before they're starting to grow their feathers. So they think they've got a couple more weeks before they start to look like adults.
The chicks have been hiding under the ferry wharf all day. They're hungry, and one parent is coming home with a fish dinner. No camera lights or flash are allowed, so I filmed this special event with an infrared light that's invisible to the penguin's eye.
Right in the middle of the city, it's amazing. You can just go and see these creatures of nature.
I guess I'm of the feeling it should be normal. I mean, it's a bit. I think it's sad that it's a rarity, but it's nice to see it. Yes.
Now the other parent's coming in while the first one's feeding.
Well, it's pretty impressive.
The parent's turning its back on the chicks. Does that mean she's...
That means you've had enough. I won't feed you anymore.
I'm going to show you the best and the most extensive Aboriginal rock engravings around Sydney Harbour. Now, they're very easy to find. You've got Wakehurst Parkway, the roar of the traffic just here, and you come down Bantry Bay Road to the southern end, then a 300-metre walk along this path, and you come to these signs here and just go through the fence. Wow, what a huge site. Now sometimes the Sydney sandstone has these great big flat areas, and this enabled the Aborigines to create monster size engravings, the largest in Australia and probably in the world. Well, here's a shark. You can see its dorsal fin. Over here, a shield, quite a large one. Here's a huge whale. Just step it out. 2, 3, 4, 5.5 metres long. Now, there's several engravings of whales, so that means that whales were common in the past in Sydney Harbour. In fact, this one was probably viewed right in Bantry Bay, just over here. Oh, another shield. And here we have 2 boomerangs. Ah, a wallaby. There's its tail, head, and forelegs. A little hard to see though in the shadows. Look at this school of fish, big fish, beautifully outlined. Now some people are saying that the Aborigines should come back and re-engrave them, make them look original again. Just like they do to the cave paintings. Every 30 or 50 years they would come back and touch up the cave paintings. Others are saying, no, no, just leave them as they are, and they'll probably last another 1,000 years before they slowly weather and fade away. Now this is a rock engraving of a whale, and there's a man inside the whale here, but you can't see him because he's underwater. Very fitting. Now this is a bull's head. Just over here is the Harbour Bridge, and to find this you come down Bull's Head Road, and where it forks to go to HMAS Waterhen, this is where it is. Well, these engravings are easy to find. We're up in the Lambie Heights at the end of Gumbuya Street, and they're right in here. This is the biggest of all whale engravings, 8 metres long, almost life-size. Aha, here's a good outline of a man, arms outstretched, and his penis has been scratched out. Manly, so named by Captain Phillip of the First Fleet because that's what he thought of the local Aborigines, until they speared him. Divers Dave Thomas and Jane Jenkins are searching for seahorses here. There's one, so cute and quite common, just hard to spot in the net. Likewise, these 2 cuttlefish blend in beautifully with the net sea growth. Cute as they are, seahorses are shameless, sex-obsessed bisexuals. Seahorses with the biggest bellies attract the most partners, 40% going for the same sex. In their topsy-turvy world, where the male becomes pregnant and carries the eggs, a big-bellied male may flirt with as many as 25 potential partners in one day. Somehow I missed all that on this dive. The water was cold, maybe cooled their ardour. Sugarloaf Bay here was not a safe place to swim in the early 60s. There was a young actress, Marcia Hathaway, swimming here, and she was viciously attacked by a shark on Australia Day 1963, right there. Now there's no access here by road, so a speedboat raced her around to Mowbray Point. There was an ambulance waiting here at Mowbray Point, but they had trouble getting up that steep slope. Now, it was only a gravel road in those days. So the rescuers got behind the ambulance, they pushed and shoved, but the clutch burnt out. So they had to unload her, put her on the stretcher, carry her all the way up the top of the hill to another waiting ambulance. And with all those delays, the poor girl died on the way to hospital. Now, the press labelled the killer as a grey nurse shark, and that was a pity because there was a lot of killing of grey nurse sharks after that, and that we know now it is a harmless shark. Personally, I think it was a bull shark. They do like estuarine waters like here. Now, that was the last fatal shark attack in Sydney Harbour, and you might wonder, why hasn't there been another one in over 40 years? Well, soon after that, the harbour became quite polluted, and I guess any sensible shark would have swum outside around the heads to the beaches and probably got caught up in the shark nets anyway. Not always has Sydney Harbour and its upper reaches been beautiful, because back in the early 60s, along the Lane Cove River, there was a massive fish kill, and the villain was a gas that we call hydrogen sulfide, and it oozed up out of the toxic mud, bubbled to the surface, and it killed thousands of fish. Now, right here, beside the Chatswood Golf Course and beside the Lane Cove River, happened Australia's most famous unsolved murder. Now, if you were my age, I'm sure that you would remember the front page news of the Bogler Chandler double murders.
Police found the partly naked bodies on the banks of the Lane Cove River on New Year's Day 1963. 38-year-old CSIRO scientist Dr. Gilbert Bogle and his 29-year-old lover, Margaret Chandler. Public speculation included revenge murders by the couple's spouses.
Their bodies were found here on New Year's Day 1963, and it appeared that they had had a violent death, a poisoning, and the police could not find what that poison was. Now they believe that the killer was the river itself. In its dying breath, it emitted this mass of toxic gas, and in that early morn, with the cold air, it settled down on the two lovers, and they died a horrible death. Now the river is clean. It's okay to swim. Now, when I lived here 40 years ago, I would come down here and collect mussels, oysters, and even the Sydney rock oysters came from Sydney Harbour. Today, no more. And it's very sad that pollution has literally made these shellfish and fish toxic to eat. But there are people who are still ignorant of that. I've seen them come down and pick at the oysters. I see them fishing, catching fish and taking them home to eat. They must have a cast iron stomach. Are you going to eat the flathead?
Oh yeah, I think so.
You don't think it'll poison you?
No, we ate one Wednesday night. We had a couple.
Oh, and it was good?
Yeah, it tasted awesome.
Yeah, not sick in the stomach? Oh, you got it?
No, not sick at all. I think if you ate a lot of them, it'd be a different story. Totally different story.
Sydney Harbour's numerous coves and inlets are seemingly a safe place to swim. As I watch the cormorants dive for their supper, I know as a fellow diver it's not all so safe down there. The harbour does have a few nasties. If you are a lucky diver, you may glimpse the shadowy outline of a grey nose shark cruising by. You'll probably freeze when a big bull ray passes, as it's known to kill unexpectedly. several divers have been bitten when disturbing sleepy wobbegong sharks. The smaller creatures are the greater worry. This scorpion cod has 12 venomous spines. The deadly stonefish has 13. Unluckily, its sting is far worse. Only the blue-ringed octopus is dangerous. This common one is just creepy and is catching dinner. Sea urchins become pin cushions if you tread on one. The spines are toxic and painful and break off beneath the skin. Big jellyfish are common in the harbour and they do sting. But turtles like them. On North Head, Curran and I visit the Artillery Museum and we go underground with Jeff Evans on a most interesting tour. Jeff, you're going to show us something special here.
Yes, I am, Ben. Why don't we go down underground and have a look?
Oh, right, down into the catacombs. You excited?
I am. It'd be great.
How far underground are we going, Jeff?
We'll be about 19 metres, so around 65 feet underground at the lowest point, Ben.
Oh, OK. So this powered the whole system?
Yes, it did, Ben. The generators provided power for the lighting in the tunnels, for the guns themselves, and for the whole headland during the Second World War.
Must have been very noisy in here.
Oh, so.
Especially all the echoing is running.
There would have been an unbelievable din in here, and in those days we didn't have ear protection or anything, so the guys probably walk out of here deaf. The roof there is 2 metres of reinforced concrete.
Kidding, 2 metres?
Yeah, the walls are a metre each, and the floor is a metre of reinforced concrete as well.
So this would be the safest place in Sydney if there was a terrorist attack?
Absolutely, yeah.
Will you give me a key?
We'll talk to the curator, yeah.
OK.
One of these diesels could have powered a small town of about 1,000 people.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not with today's diesel prices.
How long is this tunnel here?
It's about 150 metres all up from one end to the other. It joins the generator room, the 2 guns, and the room that we're going to called the casualty dressing station. But the interesting part is the water that's running here. They struck a natural spring when they were digging the tunnels. But this is the lowest point in the tunnels, Ben. The water gathers here and goes out through that tunnel and out over the cliff face.
Is it drinkable?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Beautiful.
Sure?
Yep.
No Guardia?
You can taste test.
Yep. Sydney, you know where there's some fresh water. Good line-up of shells there.
Yes, it is. This is the shell store. 250 shells were kept down here for the gun, which is straight up above us now.
Are they 10-inch calibre?
No, they're 9.2-inch calibre, Ben.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's an odd one. Yeah.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Are they heavy?
They're 380 pound in the old terminology, 172 kilos.
Whoa, so they wouldn't hand lift them out of there?
No, they actually had a gantry crane that would pick up the shell up, bring it round, drop it onto the platform here, and then roll it into the elevator, which would take it up to the gun.
Yeah. Nice to know there's a quick way out.
Yes, that's right.
Is this the exit that comes out halfway down the cliff?
No, that's a different tunnel, Ben.
So you don't have to do an Indiana Jones when you get to the end of this one?
No.
That's an unusual gun.
Yes, it is, Ben. This one actually shows the transition between muzzle loading and breech loading, designed by a chap called Armstrong.
So, you know those old cannon we find underwater? Yeah. They were the forerunners of this. And then after this came the big artillery.
That's exactly right, yes. Yeah.
The breech loading.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. He's the middleman, yeah.
Wow, what a monster cannon.
Yeah, it certainly is, Ben.
Oh, yeah, look at the bore there. What's the poundage of this?
This is a 68-pounder.
68?
Yeah, 68-pounder. Sat at Bradley's Head from about 1880 through to about 1980.
This is the 68-pounder. Isn't it huge? That's the 9.2 that we saw before, but what is this one, Jeff?
Now, this is a 15-inch. There was an argument at one stage that with the development of battleships and the thickness of armour they had, that a 9.2 would not be sufficient, so we were talking about 15-inch.
Big holes.
That's about as heavy as your car.
I recognise this one. This is a long-barrelled 12-pounder, right?
That's correct, Ben. Yes, it is. Yes.
For all the shipwrecks and cannons I've found underwater. Now, you rely totally on volunteers, don't you?
Yes, we do, Ben. We need volunteers for a whole range of different activities.
I mean, I've only seen a few people here, so it's not very well known.
No, that's right.
Oh, this is great.
Definitely worth a visit.
It certainly is. So this is the British Royal Marine, the first uniform that we would have seen in Australia.
Uh-huh.
And this is the uniform of the New South Wales Corps.
Was that in Bly's time when he had that rum rebellion?
That's exactly right.
And these
yes.
were the guys?
That's the one, yes.
Oh, this a Gatling gun?
No, Ben, that's a Nordenfelt. It's all 3 barrels fire together in this one.
Used in the Boer War?
About that vintage, yes.
Yes. Well, if you want to kill a lot more people at once, look at this one.
That's right, yeah, we've got 10 barrels there.
Oh, look at this, 10 barrels.
Do a bit of damage to a front line, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Certainly would.
Oh, awful. Quarantine Bay has a macabre history and a lot of deaths. I'm going on a ghost tour here.
As I was saying, if a ship arrived, there was disease on board, even if just one person was sick, the whole ship was quarantined. All the passengers, all the crews, sick people and healthy people. It was like a jail. They were not allowed to leave here until they proved they were innocent of these diseases. Cholera, typhus fever, typhoid fever, bubonic plague, smallpox, Spanish influenza. If you caught those diseases, 50 to 70% chance you were going to die, and die in agony. This place is not put on. It is considered the most haunted site in Australia. If you do have an experience, it will be real.
Spooky. So many died here.
The oldest building still standing right here. This one here, built in 1875. This place is worse than Port Arthur. And of around about 13,000 people that came through here, 572 people did not leave. And that's why we've got the supernatural here. Those 572 people are buried in 3 separate cemetery sites. And when they were buried without any religious ceremony. None whatsoever.
My invisible infrared light won't spook the ghosts.
The girl only became known to us a couple of years ago. One of our tour guides was reading through the death registers. She found the entry of Matilda. Standing here talking to everyone, and Bindi told me she felt this, well, she described it as a pressure all over her head, face, shoulders, neck, just this pressure. She then realised the clairvoyants standing around her were absolutely aghast. They were just standing there staring at Bindi. Bindi knew something was wrong. She said, "What's up? What are you staring at?" These clairvoyants just said, "Matilda is trying to strangle you." Matilda was standing in front of Bindi with her hands up around Bindi's neck. And she tries to help people. But if you ignore her and don't listen to her, that's when she gets very frustrated. Because she has tried to strangle 7 people that I know of. They've been on my tour when she's actually done it. Speaking of death, the morgue is down this way. Now, the stub was only ever used when they didn't know why someone had died. If they knew why the person died, they just buried them. If they didn't know why they died, they'll bring their body in here and perform an autopsy. Cut the body open. You can see the grooves here for the body fluid run down to a big pit underneath. Young bloke who came in was on my tour a couple of years ago. All he wanted to do was come in here and hide on the slab. Suddenly, in the middle of my talking, he jumped up going, "Mah!" Sorry, he scared the daylights of the river. Let's move up to the hospital. Beware. A group of girls on my tour, probably about 17, 18, took them into the hospital, told them about the matron. I came outside, this young girl came running out, absolutely hysterical. She said she was wandering between the 2 wards. She passed this room. She just looked in the door. We believed it was the matron's office. So I just looked in the door and kept walking. So I was then compelled to go back and look in the room again. So I walked back to the door, and there, standing probably as far away as from you to me, was the matron. Just standing there, arms folded, staring at me. Really upset that I was staring at her. The matron just said, "Get out of here!" Scared the daylights out of that poor girl. This way.
For more than 200 years, people have tossed and dropped things in the harbour. Here at Farm Cove, I joined Dave Thomas and Christy Holmes on a search for old relics.
This is your bottom scratcher.
This is it. This is a probe, and we'll use this just poking in the sand, and it makes a distinctive noise when you find a bottle or pottery.
Right,
Like
okay.
that.
I'll be right down behind you.
Okay, let's go.
You hand me the camera, please. Thank you. You got some good stuff.
Hey. Oh, wow.
I think you can read Sydney Hotel on that.
Yeah, it's a name on the top.
Yeah, it says Hotel Sydney.
Yeah, that's quite
Wow.
something.
Yeah.
Pewter mug.
Oh, teapot, not much good there.
Probably. Yeah.
Too old.
And last one's the best one.
This is a good Luna. You could read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hotel Sydney again.
Hotel Sydney.
Hotel Sydney.
Again.
Some guys obviously dropped it with the key, and the key has rusted away. Yeah. Okay, we'll go back.
Yes.
Get some more.
Plenty more.
Oh, right. That's a Hamilton bottle, but they call it a drunken bottle because it won't stand up. There you are.
Oh, because of the bottom. I get it. Wow.
Dave found something special for you, Christy. Wait till you see it.
Wow.
It's a wedding ring.
Fits perfectly.
Is that what you wanted?
The moment every girl's always dreamed of.
It's 5 a.m. and I'm down at the Sydney Fish Market in Pyrmont, ready for one of the world's largest auctions. More than 55 tonnes of fresh seafood is auctioned off each day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
People queue for an early behind-the-scenes tour. The auction uses a computerised Dutch clock system, originally developed for the sale of tulips.
When the auction clock starts, the auctioneer sets a predetermined price for any species based on what that product was selling for this morning or yesterday. And unlike a normal auction, Ben, the price starts at a higher price and runs down. Once one of the buyers thinks that's a realistic price for today, he will hit the button and stop the clock, setting the price.
Large yellowtail buyers, clock A.
Extra is 2 6s and a 7 buyers. 2 6s and a 7.
Anyone from the yellowtail buyers? Any of the yellowtails?
Lobster buyers!
40 up there, $40 up there, it's going to be $40. $40 I got down there to USA. Oh, here we go, 33, right down there, got a $12 start. $12 anywhere, 12 I got up there, $12 up there, 50 up there, 12, 50, 13, 30, 50, 13, 50, 14, $14 here. $14 I got up there, $14, and you got anything at 14, 14 down there to Farrell. Mud crab! 1, 2, 25, 28 I got up there, $28 up there, $28 up there, 50 up there, 28, 50 I got, 28, 59 up there, 50 up there, 29, 50, 30, $30 here, 30, 51, $31 up there, 50 up there, 2 here, $32 here, and it's sitting at 32, 32, 53, $33 up there, and it's sitting at 33, 33 down there to Musa.
Wherever you live in Sydney, it's likely your seafood dinner came from here. Since 1788, 90 ships have been wrecked inside Sydney Harbour. Some have become great dive sites, and I'm going down to explore one of them. The Centurion was a wooden sailing bark of 1,000 tonnes, and she struck rocks inside North Head in 1887. That's a plaque commemorating her loss. Pro-dive scuba divers are doing a wreck course, and they are laying out a line to measure the ship's length. The wreck is twisted and scattered, 18 metres deep. Home now to a milling school of catfish.
Okay. Oh, nice down there, but the wreckage is pretty scattered. It really is hard to find.
It's Australia Day, and the harbour celebrates. Priscilla wins the best dressed boat, and my son Dean's Sea Dragon is runner-up. The tall ships are out in their full glory, including the historic Divecon. Sydney Harbour is alive and full of fun.
Hi, good afternoon.
I need a coffee break.
Good. One cappuccino, one ice cream. Good. Thank you on that. See you next time. Tastes good. This is a great thing, you know, getting a coffee out in the harbour like this. Balmain has a wonderful heritage walk. Now I'm down the bottom of Darling Street, and we've got here the oldest pub in the area, the Shipwright Arms. It was built in 1844, and it was originally called the Dolphin Hotel. This sandstone block is breaking away and has been shored up and obviously needs renovations, but it is old, 1844. One of the guys who drank at the pub down there lived right next door, and his name was Henry Mackenzie. Now, he would row the people over the other side of the harbour after hours when the ferry wasn't running. And so they called this place the Waterman's Cottage. And it was built in 1841. And there's more up here. Isn't this cute? It's called Clontarf Cottage, built in 1844, and it's in Wallace Street. And the locals had a lot to do with saving this magnificent cottage. St Mary's Hall in Adolphus Street, and built in 1851. I'm back on Darling Street at 179, and we have the Balmain Watch House, and it was built in 1854, the oldest surviving lock-up in Sydney. And in that period, I guess it was pretty busy. Hidden away at Chinaman's Beach are some rock engravings, and artist Ken Doan takes me to them.
Yeah, these are the engravings I want to show you, Ben.
Uh-huh.
Look, this one, if you look carefully, it's like an Australian coat of arms,
yeah, I
you
can
know?
see it. Emu.
Emu.
Kangaroo, I guess,
kangaroo.
here. That's quite good.
Then here we've got one, either 1883 or 1885.
R.C.
R.C.
Not Roman
whoever
Catholic.
That was. No, whoever that was.
Yeah.
Then if you go a little bit further, this is more distinct and really quite beautiful. The Pyrmont, obviously a ship of some kind, 30th of December, 1885. You know?
Yeah. Well, I remember my friend Patty used to own this place here, and she said that there was an inlet running in, which she filled in, and I would guess that small boats would come over here, park in the inlet, and picnic right here.
Yeah, look, when we first came here, there was still evidence of a little wharf here, so people probably came round the corner from Balmoral and spent the day down here. But these people who would have come, you know, more than 100 years ago, like if you look up into here, there's this wonderful kind of Victorian woman's head.
Yeah.
And even further up, this shows you a bit of Latin. So they, if it was graffiti or rock etchings, at least they had a bit of taste and style.
That's right. It is graffiti, but it's now history.
Yeah, that's right.
It's great.
I think it's terrific.
I've seen that before.
Well,
Ken?
I thought that was slightly sort of Japanese symbol of some kind.
No, it isn't. I've seen it on Magnetic Island. In fact, I've seen it in 2 places on Magnetic Island. We're actually searching for a supposed treasure on Magnetic Island, and this was up in the cave we were searching. And I have no idea what it means, but immediately we're thinking, this...
Do you think we should be digging
down here? Yes. Sydney Harbour has seen some unusual visitors since Captain Arthur Phillip stepped ashore in 1788. The recent discovery of the missing Japanese midget sub off Sydney relives their dramatic entry into Sydney Harbour on the night of May 31, 1942, and just how close Japan's war came to Australia. Seals are occasional harbour visitors, and one found life good at Harry's Cafe in Woolloomooloo. Bridge commuters and climbers had a special treat when 2 courting southern right whales swam under the harbour bridge. The harbour came to a standstill. Even ferries stopped to let the whales pass through.
View of the city and a view of the whale jumping, you can't beat that.
Fantastic, can't believe that they've come in so close.
Pretty spectacular.
A year later, a pair of humpback whales and a calf swim into Sydney Harbour.
Seeing it in the harbour is kind of cool.
Yeah, find that.
Dean captures the humpbacks underwater. Aboriginal rock engravings told us the whales have been coming to Sydney Harbour for thousands of years. Is this whale greeting us? Circular Quay looked very different in the early 1800s. A freshwater stream ran through Sydney town into the harbour. This is where the tank stream empties into Sydney Cove, right next to the Balmain ferry. And here, because of it, is the beginning of Sydney town. Underneath the skyscrapers, that stream is still there. And that is where I'm heading. Now here's a map of Sydney Cove, 1810, and you can see where the tank stream starts way up here in Market Street and runs down between George and Pitt Street and eventually back into Sydney Cove Circular Quay. The tank stream is open only once a year, and these people won a ballot to be the lucky few. Well, I'm looking forward to this. John Breen tells me the sandstone was excavated 5 metres deep in 4 places to create storage tanks. John, what's this orange thing here on the netting?
That's a safety device, a gas monitor. And if gas is built up, that makes an alarm sound and we'd know to get out.
Better than the canary, isn't it?
Yes. This is about the normal flow along the stream. In earlier days, it would have been more than that. So this is probably about a third of the natural original flow. This is the modern part of the tank stream. This is reinforced concrete. That's an access manhole which will get you out into Curtin Place for safety reasons.
Aha, the Cave Clan has been here. 2003. They get in everywhere.
This flow emanates up near Hyde Park South, and it's been there certainly ever since the first fleet arrived. This is the sandstone arch, which is what people associate with the tank stream. However, it's only been here since about 1870. But the important part to realise here is the floor, because the floor went here with the first fleet. And the floor was done there to take water from the swamps in Hyde Park along here and to get into the tanks. And the tanks were started within 6 months of the first fleet arriving. So the floor is important.
So the convicts would have made this, would they?
Exactly, that's right. And that's why the floor is the really significant part.
And this is all that's left of the tank stream here?
That's right.
Except when it rains?
Yes, and when it rains, it's right to the top and above.
It's nice and sunny out there, I believe.
That's right. This represents a symbol for payment of the stonemasons because they weren't convicts, they were free people. And they got paid for each block as they laid it.
It's getting higher here.
Exactly, and there's a reason for that, and we only found the plans 3 years ago. This, in fact, is a hydraulic expansion chamber, because you'll see an ugly pipe up there.
Oh, and that was like an obstruction, was it?
That's right, but that pipe was there before the sandstone arch went in. Yeah, this ugly old pipe represents one of the high points of Australian technology.
Yeah.
It's not a circular pipe, it's got a V shape in the bottom. And the V shape is to carry the sewage solids along.
And it's iron, is it?
Yes, but to confuse us, it's got timber there. But the timber, we think, was probably used about 80 years ago as repairs, because you can't get this sort of stuff off the shelf anymore. But it's made of about 15 different pieces, all bolted together. And we've got photographs to show that this was part of an aqueduct, a three-piece aqueduct, which was there in the very early days.
So this would be very, very old. Have you got a date for it?
Yes, it dates back to about 1855, when they were building the Bennelong sewer.
And you said that this was a sewer, became a sewer before London?
Yes, an official sewer before London. There's other things too. Also, I can stand up very easily under that point. Most of you can, because that's under the manhole cover, which will bring you up into Hunter Street.
So what's this, John?
This is an oviform sewer pipe made up of bricks, but you can see the V shape at the bottom, and that's to carry the sewage particles along. It's about 20 years younger than the sandstone arch that they're in, but the important part is you can see the bricks around the top. Yeah. They're not just your common house bricks, they're V-shaped bricks to fit perfectly around the arch. And that means they use less cement to do it. And that was important because the sewer gases eat away at cement and bricks can fall out of the roof. The tank stream in 1857 became an official sewer. Prior to that, it had just been a stormwater cum sewer.
So this was at first, you know, a freshwater stream for drinking. Then it just became a stream that was polluted, and then a sewer.
That's right. Yes, yeah. And
not a very good life for that, did it?
That's right. It's got the whole history, and that's why the tank stream is so important in the history of Sydney and indeed Australia.
Yeah. And what do you think of this?
Oh, it's been an excellent tour to see the history of Sydney, but particularly as it evolved over time, but also the way in modern times that the city has impacted on the stream itself.
It's amazing. You don't actually realise what's down here and what you're walking over until you're actually down here. You don't even think about it.
It's just quite astounding, actually, yes. And to hear the history and where it's been, where it came from, is fantastic.
I can't believe this is under Sydney and hardly anybody knows about it. It's just incredible. You just walk above it and have no idea. It's like a little hidden wonderland underneath Sydney.